What's up, guys? If you remember, I think last week we did a Halloween trilogy face-off. Great suggestion by Jack Powell, and it got my wheels spinning. I could continue this with other franchises. Hell, even putting trilogies from one franchise against another franchise. So a lot of opportunities ahead, but today we're going to do two trilogies from the Friday the 13th franchise. The OG trilogy against the Jarvis trilogy. So let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to another fun topical video on the second channel. If you're not a subscriber of Drumdums Extra and you are of the main channel, or if you're not of the main channel, then I would suggest subscribing if you like this type of stuff. This is where I get to let my hair down, I guess you could say, and step outside of just my normal reviews. But today, like I said in the intro, we're going to be comparing two trilogies from the Friday the 13th franchise. The first three movies, and then the 4, 5, and 6, okay? And also, a part of this is going to be me reading some of your responses, because before I do the video, before I record, I always post on my socials and I get your feedback. And today I'm going to actually get feedback from Killer Flicks, from Instagram, and from Twitter or X. By the way, guys, as I'm recording this video, I literally have Friday Part 2 playing right now in the background on my TV, okay? Because I can't get enough of this movie. I do love Part 2 to death. But those first 6 Friday movies are really solid, racked and stacked. I think, there's one in there that's a little lower down the totem pole. And it could be a main factor in making the final results of this really close. Because if you didn't watch my Halloween video, what I do is I rank all 6 movies, and then I have a numerical number rating for each movie, and then I do the math, and I tell you definitively what is the better trilogy for me, anyway, okay? And sometimes it could be a surprise, like when I did Halloween. I could have swore up and down that I was going to go with the David Gordon Green trilogy, based on the numbers. But at the very end of it, it came to .1. That's how scientific we got with it, and it turned out to be the Thorn trilogy, which was really cool for me. So I just love getting you guys' feedback. So I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to start by reading some of your opinions on this. Let me pull it up here. I actually screen capped a couple of them to make it easy on me. And I screen capped 4 different ones from X, and I'm just going to go through them real quick. Dead Jester Cinema, he says Jarvis trilogy all day. EL says OG trilogy, never liked Tommy Jarvis. Richard Strange says, oh man, I love all those films. And Monty G says OG for me. So you get a little bit of love for both there. And then over on Killer Flicks, I got Jason Mongold. I had to save that one because it's just so funny. It's got Miguel Nunez from Part 5. One of the strangest freaking scenes I've ever seen in movie history. She is serenading him while he is taking a dump. Yes. Only in the Friday franchise. But this is from Jason Mongold. He says, give me that Jarvis all day. And the picture somehow weirdly goes with it. Over on Instagram, a couple more here for you. I got Slasher Cave. He says, what? Friday Part 1 is a standalone to me. 2, 3, and 4 are a trilogy. And there's always somebody that steps outside of what I'm trying to do to try to tell me that I'm not saying he's saying I'm wrong, but that's just the way he sees it. Is 2, 3, and 4 are a trilogy because they take place day after day after day. He's not wrong, but I think it just logistically it makes it easier to just do it this way. First 3, and then 4 through 6 is the Jarvis trilogy, as said by the Lone Star. I see them the same, but 4, 5, and 6 are the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. So we don't need to debate that, people. All right. And then Liana Bevy Rage, she says, the final girls of 2 and 3 are some of my favorite horror sequences. Yes, those are 2 of the best final acts in the entire franchise. 2 and 3. So she is right about that. So those are your comments. I always get tons of comments from you guys, and I thank you so much for your participation in this. You are part of what makes these really fun to do. So now we're going to jump into the ranking, okay? I have it already on my computer here. I did the work because it was tough for me to rank these. It wasn't an easy, I know the rack and stack orders, because I'll say this right now. 2 of these movies have at one time or another been my favorite movie of the franchise. At one time it was one movie, and then years later, I changed my mind. I said, wait, I actually think this is my favorite movie of the franchise. And I'll tell you about those once we get to them. Okay, so coming in at number 6, we're going to go with part 5. I don't think this is going to shock anybody. It is the copycat killer movie, but that's not the reason. They could have had a copycat killer, and it still could have felt just like a regular Jason movie, which this does. But I think this is a case of too many characters, too many kills, which they kind of cancel each other out when you get too many of anything in a movie. And there are some really great standout kills, and I think if they would have pared down some of those kills would have stood out even farther. And of course you got my friend Deborah Voorhees, her iconic, one of the most famous scenes in the entire franchise with the hedge trimmers. But yeah, I don't think you're going to argue too much with me if I put part 5 as last place. And I still have a really good time with part 5. I do. Okay, 5 and 4, they could be interchangeable. This one was a really tough one for me because there's certain things I like about this movie over this movie and vice versa. You know what I mean? It all comes down to certain categories. So anyway, coming in at number 5, I'm going to change what I had right there because my mind just changed right now on the fly. So I'm going to put as number 5, the very first Friday the 13th. And man, there are so many people that don't really dig this movie. They feel like because Pamela Voorhees is the killer, maybe that's it. Maybe it's a little slower moving than a lot of them. But man, I just find so much charm, and maybe in that it's the first movie and the legend of it. Because when the first Friday came out, I don't think a lot of you younger viewers remember how scandalous it was with the kills. Tom Savini's kills at that time were legendary. And it was just only after we got a lot of the sequels and the kills were even more graphic that we started kind of waning towards the original movie. But I love the characters in that movie. I've always had a really good time, and it is one of the Friday movies that I probably throw in the most, if I'm being honest. Because number 4, I just changed my mind, is going to be part 3. And I think it's what Liana was saying there. That final act is so freaking good. Richard Brooker is easily one of the best, if not the best, Jason out of the whole bunch. My favorite is Ted White, but if somebody tells me that Richard Brooker is their favorite, I'm not going to argue with them because Richard Brooker just had, he brought a signature to the character. And anytime you do that, that's a leg up. I loved his lumbering walk. He just looked like a really big guy. I think the unmasked version of Jason in that movie is probably the scariest to me. He's freaky looking. And 3 just has a lot of interesting characters. Shelley's an interesting character. I think he's divisive because there's people that hate Shelley and then there's people that love him to death, And I've kind of went on both sides of that. There was a time when I didn't like Shelley that much. And I've kind of come around to him, So I think I like Shelley now, even though he does complain quite a bit. And I think that's what annoyed me about him. But yeah, and the kills. Oh my God, the guy walking on his hands, that freaking kill, absolutely legendary. Legendary. Okay, number 3, I'm going to go with part 6. And this is a lot of people's favorite Jason movie. It's a great one. For me, those early Jason movies had a certain recipe about them, and nudity was one of them. I know it's shallow, but it was part of the recipe for me. I liked that stuff about it. And this does have, I guess hot chicks in it. But they don't go all... And they were supposed to, actually. The one actress that's in the RV, she was... supposed to be in part 5, and she ended up being in part 6. So maybe actually, I'm correcting myself here. Maybe there was never any nudity planned. This one has kids in it too, but I can't take away from the charm of part 6, making it more of a horror comedy. Tom Matthews, I think, is probably the best version of Tommy Jarvis out of the bunch. And there's just a lot going for part 6. And it is easily one of the most rewatchable. And I think if you're wanting to show somebody new to the franchise a Friday movie, I think I would jump for part 6 first and foremost. Number 2 and number 1 are the ones that I changed my mind as far as which one was my favorite. At one time, number 2 was my favorite. And number 2 is number 2, by the way. Friday the 13th, part 2. I think I always had an affection for Sackhead Jason. There was something different about him. But when he comes through that freaking window at the end, that one scene alone put this movie high above the pack because it scared the living shit out of me when I first saw it. Amy Steele, easily one of the best final girls ever, not just in Friday. She's an amazing final girl. I literally talked to Amy Steele about this. Why do you think you are the most amazing final girl. And she gave me an easy answer. She says, because Jenny is always ahead of everything. She's always thinking ahead. She's not the strongest person in the world, but she's very smart. And she's not reacting to everything. She's acting, right? And I agree with her. I definitely agree with her. You couldn't help but love Jenny. And she had that quality where men loved her and women loved her, you know, and that's a rare quality to have. So number 1 is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. You know, I've given this movie so much love over the years. I think it is easily one of the greatest slasher movies ever made, as far as checking every box that you want out of a slasher movie and then adding its own boxes, like the Crispin Glover dance, you know? It's an anomaly. It's like Nightmare Part 3. That's what Friday Part 4 is. And it doesn't hold back. Joseph Zito, he wanted to go for a really gritty approach to this movie, to not make it light. You know, this is a hard R, and there's tons of nudity. There's tons of carnage and killing. And you got Ted White, my all-time favorite Jason. And then you got the great backstories about the movie that just make the legend of it even better. So the final act is insane, with Corey Feldman coming out and just going to town. Like, there was a time when I was a kid, I was thinking, how could Jason come back after that? And this was called the final chapter. They were wanting it to be over. But thinking back now, and especially when you consider what a lot of our slasher icons have went through, hell, there's even times when you could probably decapitate them and they'll come back somehow, you know? As long as there's money to be made, the box office is the only true killer of a slasher villain, right? So yeah, that's the ranking, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one trilogy is better than the other. You know, it still comes down to the math. And I did the math, and like Halloween, it was really close. I'm going to put it here on the screen for you. Drum roll, please. The winner is the original trilogy for me at a numerical score of 21.9. The Jarvis trilogy had 20.5. And I did not know the answer to this question before I did my ratings of each movie. But the deciding factor on this was Part 5, because I gave all the other movies at least a 7 out of 10 and up. Part 5, I gave a 5 out of 10. And if it wasn't for Part 5, then the Jarvis trilogy would have won. So that's what happens when you make a really, really bad movie. And again, I do have a good time with Part 5, but it's a 5 out of 10. All right, that's just it. Get in the comments. Let me know your scores for this, your rankings. Which trilogy do you like the best? And don't just give your knee-jerk reaction. Do like I did. Do the math, okay? Rate each movie, and you might surprise yourself. It might come out to be a trilogy that you didn't think it was going to be. So that's the fun of this, okay? And also, give me some other trilogies that you would like to stand off against each other. You know, this is really fun. I love this idea. And again, giving the credit to Jack Powell for starting this whole thing off with the 2 Halloween trilogies, all right? I mean, I could do Nightmare 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6, but I can tell you right now, is there even a chance? Hell no. I might have to do like odds and evens to make that showdown more interesting, which maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do Nightmare odds and evens. You guys think that would be kind of cool? Yeah. Anyway, guys, that is the topical video for today. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Love you guys. Mwah.